etheric energy space where we all gather. And prior to you all coming into that space, it is programmed for protection and peace and love and all good. But I also highly recommend you protect or prepare your area in your home the same way. I also, at the end of each class, I disconnect the energy too, because we learned, this is all an experimental process for us, because we've only ever done classes, as you've read in the book, live and in person. And the first few times we did classes way back in Mara, November 2017 was the first one?
Yeah, just a little bit over a year.
Yeah, so we were all kind of intertwined even after the class closed for the evening, and never really knowing how to do this kind of online energy course before. We learned quickly that there's got to be a different kind of closure. So just know that I do that for us, but I also highly recommend you keep your space sacred. However you do that, I sage and program the area with crystals, obviously, and with many other things as we go forward. So with that said, what I'd like you all to do right now is just take some nice deep breaths, rounds of cleansing breaths, and just focus on that breath. And bring yourself grounded and centered into your own body, your own space. On your next breath, I'd like you to see yourself pulling down this beautiful orb of golden light through your crown chakra and allowing it to float through your entire body, cleansing you of anything that doesn't serve you at this moment or any moments in the future, anything you're ready to let go of. And as it passes through the heart, it emanates outward through your auric field as well, going down through the torso, through your legs and your feet, and then creating branch-like roots that go down into Mother Earth that come from your feet, keeping you connected to the Mother and keeping you grounded. And we begin this session with dear Mother, Father, God, creator of all things. We come to you as a circle of light, of members of a mission. We ask for your presence here tonight, working your wisdom and your unconditional love through each and every one of us. I invite all ascended masters of peace and light to attend, leaving all egos and personalities aside from the human counterparts and any energies that work through and with us. All archangels are invited into this sacred space, and I invoke the angels of the four directions, Michael from the east to bring your protection and guidance, Uriel from the south to bring your love and light, Raphael from the west, bring your divine healing, your joy and your peace. And last but not least, Gabriel from the north, bring us your clarity of message and wisdom. Guide us always, holding this space sacredly and securely as we gather and we greet. In one we are, and in one we will be. And so it is, and so we are, and so it shall be. Amen. And bringing your breath back to normal. And when it's ready and appropriate for you, go ahead and wiggle your toes and your fingers and flutter your eyelids and come back into this space. Come back into this time and join us. And let's see, I'm just going to set up. I can't find my chat. There's my chat. Okay. So lots of things to go over. First of all, I want to congratulate Group 2 for your perseverance and your tenacity for getting all of those lessons done in the timely manner that you did. And for those of you that were in the boot camp thread, that was a lot of work, I for one, with the boot camp, noticed a definite bumping up of my energy, and also my dedication or my practice to making myself do something every day at the same time every day. So it was great exercise. So before I go into anything else, I'd like one person from group 2 just to share their experience of what you had to go through and how that felt. Don't everybody raise your hand at once. I'm going to pick on somebody. Who am I going to pick on? I'm going to pick on Candy. See? That's what happens when you don't volunteer. I can't hear her. Can you hear her?
Yeah, Candy, we can't hear you.
Oh.
Oh, she's got pods on. Oh, wait a minute. I heard something. Say something again.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now.
You can?
Yes.
Okay. So actually, I was a little nervous going in, thinking that I was going to be doing 2 lessons at a time, but it actually worked out wonderfully. And I was actually doing 3 lessons at a time, or at least every day doing a lesson and then and they were just merging together. It was like they all merged together and caused different things to come up. And it was actually amazing. It was beautiful.
Good.
I really enjoyed it.
It was definitely full immersion. If you could use that word or that phrase in the most impeccable way. For those of you who don't know, we started group 1. I said this on one of the posts a while ago. We started group 1 in November of 2017, and everything was moving along quite nicely, doing 2 lessons a month because we got the go ahead from Master Eru and Michael to make the timeline speed up a little bit. So we weren't doing just one lesson a month, we were doing 2 a month. And then somewhere about January, February, this whole new group of people came, such as the new group of people that are with us now. And Sir Edward called me one day and he says, you got to merge the groups. And I'm like, not going to happen. I can't merge them. You know, energetically, it couldn't work the way Michael wanted it to. And then Master Eru stepped in and he said, yeah, you know, you're right. You have to keep the lessons the way they are, but we can merge them here in this space. So what happened was group 1 was still working on their lessons from where they started. It was about lesson 10 when group 2 picked up. So when group 1 was on lesson 10, group 2 was on lesson 1. And when group 1 finished lesson 29 on December 12th, was it? December 12th? There was 10 more lessons that poor group 2 had to get done before we could merge in February, which was supposed to be tomorrow. And so what Sophia came through very strongly saying was, these members have been listening all these months and they know what's going on from these lessons. They will assimilate to this very easily. So she laid down this plan of they would do 1 lesson a week. Every 2 weeks, 2 lessons would open up in their class space, but they could do 1 lesson a week. And they all said, yeah, we can handle that. And then in the interim, group 1, instead of letting the energy, because the energy is building, instead of it letting tank and go down, we wanted to keep the momentum going. So we had a 29-day boot camp where we had this big long thread on iMessage where everybody who wanted to try it hopped in the thread, and we pledged to read 1 lesson a day. And as soon as you were done, you would text on the thread, done lesson 1. So that every single member in the thread within a 24-hour period was reading the lesson and doing the meditation associated with the lesson. It's extremely powerful for not only the individual, not only our group, but the world. It definitely vibrated out. And most of us, I think the first 2 weeks for me were very difficult. I felt like I was walking through mud. It was energetically, the energy was just so thick. But then it lifted, and it was just absolutely beautiful. So technically, everybody just sent in their last couple lessons, and group 1 and group 2 are now a union. As far as you're on the same page, literally. You will start with lesson 30. And that was supposed to happen tomorrow. Or actually, you were going to be getting it at 12:01 midnight tonight. It's all set and ready to go. Two things happened. One was the new website, the delivery system, trying to navigate away from Google Classroom. The new website is not ready. It was promised to me to be ready last week, and it's still not ready. So I was still going to go ahead with everything and go through Google Classroom and start. So I called Sir Edward, and Master Ebru wouldn't release the activation symbols. I'm like, what? We need to activate book 2 the way we activated book 1. And all of you should recognize that activation page, because that's where our my book is falling apart, but that's where this is the activation page. Okay, so you have that same page in book 2, but the symbols will be different. So until everything has adjusted, we can't start. So that was a big bummer for most of us that we couldn't start tomorrow, but that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to meet tonight. So does anybody have any questions about that? So that is still a big question mark. I don't know when we're gonna start, but does anybody have any questions about what or anything I just said? Anybody? Joan, go ahead.
And with you changing the Google Classroom, are we going to lose all the information we have on our Google?
No. I will still keep that open. It's still going to work. I don't know how it's going to work.
Actually, Joan, everything that you created, all those documents are saved in your own Google Docs Drive account. They're not attached to the classroom. They're connected to the classroom, but they'll be in your private account.
Right. Just more the meditations that I was.
No, you'll get all of that. I'm also working with someone to create an audio CD or an iTunes offering for all of the meditations. It's one of the reasons why you did what you did for me. So that it's because I migrated all of mine to my iTunes so that I can listen to them anywhere I want to listen to them, and not because Google Classroom, for some reason, if I'm listening to something via Google Classroom, it shuts down unless I keep the page active. So I like it just to keep going. So we're working out the bugs, but no, you won't lose anything, and you will actually. Once you see the new lesson, you're going to understand a little bit more about the Google class space, in the fact that all of you, group 1 and 2, you have to take every single essay you've done in this class, and you can kind of compile it into one document. So have fun with that. But yeah, no, you'll still have access. No worries. I would never shut that down, so not a problem. I'm just going to find a different way to allow the content to come down for you to have access to the new lessons. Any other questions there about that? No? Okay. So one of the other things I wanted to do, and I'm going to try to find it here. Here it is. I'd like to go over some of these questions, if you all don't mind, that was posted on that thread with Sir Edward posted it. It looks like Gandalf, and actually it's two pictures of Gandalf where it says no dumb questions. Okay. So I'm just going to pick a couple of these to go over. And that way we can expand on it. Okay. There's a bunch of different questions about or comments about being new versus being old. Oops, I lost you. Hold on. Mara, are you there?
Yep.
Oh, hold on a minute. Can you still see me? There we are. New versus old. There are people here in the group that have been with Sir Edward that you've read about in the books that have been with him since 1985. Some of them aren't as active as some of you new people. When I first came and started to volunteer for the charity was in 1994. I didn't meet Sir Edward until 2001. And when I finally started working here in tandem with the spiritual side and what the charity does, it never crossed my mind, oh, these people are more elevated than me. Or, oh my gosh, they know so much more than me. Or, oh, I'm just so lowly. It never crossed my mind because I'm just who I am. And that's what I encourage each and every one of you to do. Every face that I see right now, and including all the faces that couldn't be here, each of you make up a piece of the pie. And like I've said many times to many of you in the class and here at the castle before, I actually like to call us fruit salad. Some of us are apples, some of us oranges. Apples can't be oranges, grapes can't be bananas, but together we make this beautiful fruit salad. Okay? Don't try to be anybody else. And yes, we are a bunch of fruity people, and that's okay. We're fruity together. Okay? So don't sit back and think I know more. You know, the banana's taller than me, and I'm an orange and I'm round. Well, that doesn't matter either. You know, it's just be who you are. You're bringing something absolutely beautiful and vital to this mission and experiment. I cannot be anyone else. No one else can be me, and that's how I encourage everyone here to look at it. There are some people here that obviously know more through the lessons, only because they've been doing them. I've been doing them since the mid-90s, and every time I read them, or every time I do a meditation, I am learning more. Because at whatever point in my life I'm reading them, they're speaking to me in a way that I need to hear it at that moment. I mean, quite frankly, some of the times that I read the lessons or I worked with the lessons in the years past, I'm like, I can't even understand that lesson. I have no idea what they're talking about. Why? Why? Because my understanding hadn't grown enough. But I didn't sit in class, and this is when I was in class live. I didn't sit in class and go, oh my gosh, this person knows more than I do. And, you know, Lady June down there, all the way on the bottom, Lady July, when I'd sit in class with her and there would be this guided visualization going on, I'd see complete blackness and she'd see tigers running up the poles and mountains and snow caps and whatever. And I'd go home going, wow, how come I can't see that? But I didn't make myself feel less than because of it. And that's what I want each and every one of you to know. You are vital to this experiment. Whatever it is you're bringing right now, it's beautiful and perfect, and we know that. Even if you don't know that, we know that. It's why you're here. It's why you're drawn to be here. So try to refrain from the peon words and the different divisions. Yes, there's different levels. We're operating at different levels. I'm back in college taking college algebra. God help me. I wouldn't be able to do calculus right now. And 2 months ago, I didn't know how to do algebra. It's been 30 some years since I was in high school. So we have to operate at the level we're operating with, having an open heart, and most importantly, an open mind. And know that everything that happens in all of the Facebook pages that you're associated with this group is a test. And I haven't heard him, or I've seen him say it in a very long time, but those in group 1 and 2 may remember this. He used to say all the time when someone's ego was tweaked, there's only 2 people in the page, you and me. Remember that. And if there's you, and I'm a reflection of you, what does that make us? It makes us one. You're looking in a mirror, and so am I. So know that every time you talk to anyone on the page, every time you comment, you're having this relationship with the energy with which built it. Does anybody have any questions about that? Any comments? No? Okay. All right. Let's see. I'm going to go down to Heidi. You said you're in chapter 11 in book 1 and have not read anything about Master Eru, but I see his name referenced here on many posts. I feel Sir Edward and Master Eru are one, but could you elaborate on the differences? Yes, when you get further into the book, you will understand that a little bit more. Master Eru is laced through all of the lessons. So once you really get into the lessons, you'll see that. This is an age-old question with people. I've seen it in person at the round table when Sir Edward was sitting there. Somebody would lean over to me and whisper in my ear, well, who's talking now? Is it Michael? Is it Master Eru? Who is that? Basically, it's a channel. Master Eru is an ascended master. Michael is the archangel. Sir Edward used to always say about himself, and then later on, he'd reference this with me as well because of just the position and what has come through. Please don't confuse the body with the energy. Don't humanize what comes through. This is a vessel, and it's an open channel for the energy to come through. It's not one and the same, but yet both of us have died and surrendered the body to be used by the channel. So yes, they are one and the same, and Sir Edward has died several times. So there's very little of the human Edward left, but he's still there. So you'll get to know, I guess, if he ever comes live or does something with us, you'll get to understand that. You'll feel it. I mean, I can tell when, and somebody else even asked this, what does it feel like when you channel Michael? I can tell you, because I've channeled Michael as well. I've channeled Master Eru's come through me. You don't really feel it, yet it's like an out-of-body experience. You can tell when it's not you talking, meaning, wow, that I'll turn around and go, wow, that sounded really good. Where did that come from? I hope somebody wrote it down, because it's a really cool experience. And I think the most important thing about channeling is not to ever own it, because we are not that energy. That would be the ego thinking we're that energy. Those of you, how many of you have done Reiki before, or are Reiki practitioners? You know that it comes from someplace other than you. You are just this conduit for it. I tell a lot of my clients, it's like you're the lamp coming to plug into the socket to get the energy. I'm the socket. The energy is coming from above, and I'm just that go-between so that you can pull through what you need. So the same thing is with the channel and the messages. You just surrender and say, I'm here for the highest good. Say what you want to say. Allow me to personify and be an emissary of light and wisdom and your divine unconditional love. And when that happens, it's a really cool experience, but I'm in all of it. And that's what I encourage each one of you to do. Always stay in the state of awe, childlike wonder. And that lends to the humility part of when you think you know, you don't, and when you know you don't, you do. And then that way you're always gaining the respect because you're not thinking it's you. You're not taking credit for something that's really not you. The most I've ever taken credit for is just getting out of the way. Just get out of the way and let it happen, you know? Okay, any questions on that? Oh, okay, let me keep going here. Let's see. Tina asked, during one of my meditations, I understood that there is a member or members that overshadow or monitor my growth or process. I assume that's the same with all members. I don't know really. Is Tina here? No? I don't know if she actually means members like one of us. The archangels, you know, if you've been assigned an archangel, and within that archangel's legion are thousands of angels, and they are constantly working with you or trying to work with you to help your growth and understanding. So one or more of them will always be around you. They always report to Michael, because Michael's the commander of the angels, and he knows it sometimes before you know it. So if that's what she means, then I'm thinking that's the answer for that question. Okay, let's go on. Joan, the Philosopher's Stone is here. It's what houses the Excalibur. Actually, I think it's in the picture of, you know, the picture that Sir Edward posted with the 4 knights in tunics, me being one of them, just recently. Did you see that in the white tunic? Okay, that's the Philosopher's Stone behind us. Let's see. Okay, Suzanne, regarding the crystal beacons, where are we with getting 144,000 of them dispersed throughout the world? And the larger crystal pieces, are these part of the overall count or for a different purpose? I know all of them spread the universal consciousness, but some are stronger than others. How does it mesh together? Well, as this is all progressing, Sir Edward is getting new information on a daily basis. As crystals go out and we see what's happening with them, he's been given more information on how to create the stronger pieces. Originally, what we were told was we needed 144,000 people, angel knights. We can't even get 144 right now that are committed enough to do what you guys are doing. So when the hierarchy saw this, they said, okay, that's when the channel or the opening came for Sir Edward to start putting those energies in the crystals to be able to give to the angel knights to spread the consciousness that way. Okay, so then it turned into 144,000 crystals. Now, some of these are working properly, some of them are not, and it all depends on the counterpart and then the person receiving it. So yes to the fact that the bigger ones or the ones that are larger have a stronger consciousness, and this is where the experiment is coming in. It's always changing and evolving, and it's evolving due to all of your interaction. So where we are with 144,000, we haven't, since this initial beacon phase started a few months ago, we've only gotten out about 3,000 to 4,000 maybe. So we have a long way to go. And that's why he's experimenting with he was experimenting with the 4 bell crystals, and then the love bomb crystals that he just had a video of. So each one of them is housing more and more, so that say that he gets to, and I'm not saying it's there now, but say he gets to one that has 144 and he gives one of you 144, then look at all of the energy that you're dispersing and commanding. Does that make sense, Suzanne? Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Susie, what is the hardest thing for you with this work? Those are big wings to be the legs for. And what do you do to keep yourself going? I know your years in the military and police training provide discipline. How do you cheerlead yourself when things seem bleak or insurmountable? Thank you so much for everything. I'm going to answer this because I lived side by side with him every day, working with him for many years, and still when we talk about times that get low, he's one of the most positive people on the face of this earth. And he's one of the most honorable men, if not the most honorable man on the face of this earth. He does not have it easy. There are times where even when I visit him, I'm like, I don't know how you do it. But I had a glimpse about 8 months ago. There was a situation where Mara and I and Sir Edward were on a video conference. And sometimes energies are not supposed to meet at certain times for a reason. And the reason that isn't supposed to happen is because there's such power and then insight is shared that maybe we're not ready to gain. So what happened to me was during that session, I saw what Sir Edward saw for the future. And if any of you, if we fail, so if any of you were to see that, you would know that is his motivation. So I can only, I'm not going to go into elaborate detail, but if he stopped, we stop. So someone has to do it, and he gave up his life to do it. And he made a pledge. And he also, not to give secrets away, but he found what he was looking for. And now that he's laid eyes on it, he's seen his purpose, and he's got to protect that even more. So I hope, was Susie here? No? So I hope that are we recording this, Mara? Okay. So I hope that answers Susie's question, but the motivation is, if he doesn't do it, no one will. Okay, let's see here. Tammy kind of asked a similar question. My question would be is, how do you manage so many things without losing yourself? You don't lose yourself when you put yourself into so many things, as long as you keep in mind the candle that's burning. If I give my candle to you, I can lose myself. But if I light my candle and then light your candle, I'm just sharing my light. So every time he lights one of your candles or your light turns on, he's with you. So you can't lose. You only gain. You guys understand that? And then you should all do that same thing. Don't ever give your light away. You always save a little bit of your own and just spread the light. Okay, let's see here. Trying to look for a question I have not answered yet.
There have actually been a couple questions in the discussion board.
Oh, you want to read one to me while I'm looking here?
No. Joyce, she said she was asking about the Philosopher's Stone. You were talking about Excalibur and the Philosopher's Stone being here and explaining where to see the picture, but she said that does not explain what the stone is. So I think she wants you to maybe explain what the stone is.
The stone is a living, breathing kind of entity. just like the astral beacons, you know, you've all read book 1, and in book 2, you know that when Sir Edward was getting the lessons, we were also getting the property here. So he was given a level of astral beacon to use, and that every post in the wall has an astral beacon or an earth tribute crystal in the ground. And that was for a certain purpose. And so our energy was elevated here at the time. And then as he did the work, and as his knowing and his understanding broadened, and he shared that understanding with other people, and their understanding broadened, he was gifted or awarded, however you want to say it, more knowing of what to do at the next level. So at each I want to say checkpoint that he reached, he was given something else. So at some point along the line, he had done all the deeds that was asked of him, and he was given the method to construct the Philosopher's Stone. And the Philosopher's Stone is a lot of alchemy. To explain it to you, and I'm not saying this to put anyone down, it's just you would not understand how it's put together energetically, but know that once he created this Philosopher's Stone, it drew in the prosperity for the charity and for Sir Edward to continue the mission. He was told by the Hierophant and Master Eru, if he got to the point where he created the Philosopher's Stone and the energy of the children that were reached and their lives were saved were put into that, he would at some point become the Philosopher's Stone. And really all the Philosopher's Stone is an age-old, I don't want to say myth because it's not a myth, a practice of turning base metals into other objects. So what's he's doing now? He's become the Philosopher's Stone, and he's sitting down in South Carolina, and he's creating more treasures of the Magi with the astral beacons and the archangel crystals and all these different things that he's creating with the crystals. And not only that they're in the crystals, that he doesn't create the crystal itself, but he puts in a little piece of himself and all the love that he's gathered throughout the years and all the rewards that he's been given from the heavenly host, from the angels, and transform them into something that can vibrate out and the world can feel. All of you have a crystal of some sort, correct? Even the newbies, right? So you felt it. You can feel the difference. I can pick up a crystal from a shop and pick up what he gives me, and it's different beyond measure. It's a living, it's an entity. It's something just beyond normal person's knowledge. So he became the Philosopher's Stone, a living, breathing, walking, talking Philosopher's Stone, where he's transforming crystals, copper, silver, and gold into something that is vibrating out and changing the consciousness. Now, some people can't see it, but I tell you what, all of you have felt it. When you ring that bell over you, you can feel it. People who can't feel it. People who just think it's a trinket that looks pretty to put it on their shelf can feel it. So it's basically it's just transformational device. And he has become that. Now, so the one of the questions that links with that is someone asked, why the wheat pennies? And I think whoever asked it answered it in the same, here it is. Why the wheat pennies? Is it the copper content? Yes, it is. Because as the United States shifted from one process of making the penny to another, the amount of copper is totally different. And remember, it's an alchemical process that's happening between the crystal device the penny, the silver, and the gold, and or a lens that he puts on there. Does that answer it better? No? Okay. Mara, was there another one over there that
Yep.
I needed?
Johnny was asking about, he was talking about the 4 different Facebook groups and whether it's challenging to look at all of them and whether there's a priority for any of them over the others.
Well, right now, okay, there's just different levels. GoodKnight University is just the people that are in the classroom. So you're going to only get announcements when it's related to class space there right now. Okay. What's the other one? Is Atlantic?
Project New Atlantis.
Project New Atlantis is everybody. That one I think is kind of not, people aren't even posting a whole lot on that one right now.
Atlantis Wisdom Book Club is one of the primary ones that's going right now.
Right. Okay. So here's the different levels. The Crystal Unity Beacons is the public. So anybody can come in there right now. Anybody that's interested in crystals. And there's a lot of conversation, and there's still a lot of lessons in there, because it's great, because even the new people that may rub you guys the wrong way that are not in the book club, I'm talking about just John Smith off the street just jumps in there and starts to say something, great lesson. Okay, so these people are coming into the group for a perfect reason. I think somebody had a problem with somebody just recently, Kid or Alkion Kid. He was great. He was perfect because he gave us all a way to see it through his eyes and an opportunity to be able to shift our energy. So that's kind of what that page is for. That and getting the word out about what we are to the world and getting the crystals out. Okay. So, and it's also for Joseph and for Joy and Joan and Clayton, who are monitoring the book club. That's the second level. So if you show interest in what we're doing in the Beacon page, you're invited to come to the book club page. And the book club is for people who really want to discuss the book. And oh, by the way, Joseph will pop in every once in a while to just to tweak you a little bit, just to see, you know, what you're made of, see if you'll leave or see if you'll stay and rise above yourself and work through these lessons, you know, because when the ego jumps up, it should be a warning to all of us. Wait a minute, hold on. Instead of getting mad, let me just examine this for a minute. Why am I acting that way? You know? So that's what that book club is for. If you get to the point where Joseph or any one of the other admins says, you know, I think this person might want to jump into P&A, then you'll be invited into P&A. And then from there is where the people who really want to work on what we're doing go into the GoodKnight University. And that's that. So you see the transition? So as far as monitoring anything right now, Johnny, for you, because you're in the class, I would say monitor the Crystal Unity Beacon page because it's ripe for lessons. And then you'll get notifications from me or whoever in GoodKnight University for class stuff. Does that answer it for you? Cool. All right. Anything else there, Mara?
Johnny was just also saying something about there's a difference in weight between the stones. And I'm not sure what you meant by that, Johnny.
Can you unmute yourself?
He's unmuted.
Okay.
Unmute. All right. What I meant by weight was when you were talking about the difference in stones compared to one of Sir Edward's and stones versus another, just what I was given to people because I ran out of funds to be able to get any of the great stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, man, I know this is one that I'm attached to, but I'm going to pass it on. But I knew that there was something else that they could have had better. And I can tell the difference in weight. And that's what I meant by weight. as in like there's a feeling that you have when you pick up one of these stones versus one that, you know, you just pick up a regular quartz at a shop or, you know, in the ground, whatever you find, and you don't have that same feeling. There's so much more.
Even if you took, I think there was an exercise a couple months ago where you all had to make your own crystal beacon, correct? You had
right.
To, right.
Right.
So, and this is what you're feeling, and it has been scientifically proven, but it hasn't been put out there to the general public. And I think that there was a movie about it that kind of danced around it. I think it was called 22 Grams. Has anybody ever seen that movie, 22 Grams? It was when a person dies, there's a difference of 22 grams in their weight, their physical weight, from before death and after death. 22 grams. So the theory is that's the soul. That's the soul body leaving. That's the weight of the spirit, the soul. So what you're actually feeling is, I mean, he goes into a very deep meditation when he's making those. He's in a channel, he's in a zone, and he'll come out and he doesn't even know, you know, what he was doing. I mean, he knows what he was doing, but he's like, it's a totally different space. So when he's actually creating these beacons, he's putting the archangels in there. They are in there. Now, somebody will say to me, well, how can they be in there and be over there? Well, it's the essence. Okay. So that is that weight that you're feeling. It's more solid. It has more substance. So I know what you're talking about. I mean, most people would look at us like we're loopy, but I know exactly what you're talking about. So good. Glad you noticed that. All right. Any other questions over there, Lady Mara?
Not that I can see.
Okay, let me see here. I'm just trying to scroll through to make sure that I've gotten. Jasmina, you said the one question for now is how can I serve the 10 angels who came with the sacred fire you sent me properly? By just being. Where is Jasmina here? No? Oh, there she is. There she is. Just be and listen. You know, it's one of the hardest lessons to learn. You know, everybody thinks that they've got to, you know, force it. Like, I got to do something. I got to do this. Remember one of the ancient laws. It's the door to the psychic world is open with the slightest caress, not a battering ram. Okay? So we just have to be. And when it does happen, listen. I can't tell you how many times, I mean, you know, the people here in the group have said this time and time again. You know, you might be having your day planned out to do X, Y, Z, and you hear, oh no, you got to do A, B, C. Now the ego can wrestle and say, oh, I'm doing X, Y, Z, but then you're not serving what they want you to do. So listen. And then when you listen, follow through. Don't ignore them. Okay? There's a certain amount of having to discern what comes through. And then just let your ego try to work on your ego. We all have it. It's a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with the ego. We are human. We are that spiritual being having this human experience. And part of the human experience is knowing we have the ego, knowing it's going to try to trip us up, and knowing we're a bag of hormones and emotions, and we're not trying to eradicate any of this. We're just trying to bring them in balance. And you bring them in balance by recognizing it. Knowing that, you know, oh my gosh, I'm so angry. And say to yourself, you know, that it's okay that I'm angry. What's not okay is if I take my anger and I throw it on somebody else. Okay? So you honor that. Honor your ego. It's keeping you safe. But don't let your ego talk you out of something. Or don't let your ego, especially not if you feel drawn to this path in particular, or any path, don't let your ego talk you out of it. It's really easy. I mean, again, there have been knights that have been here since 1985. Some have come, some have gone, some have come back. Some we can't get rid of. No, just teasing. But life gets in the way. If you allow life to get in the way of your path, I mean, look at Heidi. She has a baby, and how many 2 sick kids? Heidi, 2 sick kids? And you're here. You're taking this hour for this meet and greet because it's an energetic exchange with all of you, because you will all, those of you who want to, will all wind up in the class space. So you have to set the time aside. It's almost like, saying, yeah, I want to be a marathon runner, but I'm not going to set aside those hours to practice. You have to do this for you. And by doing it for you, you do it for the world, you do it for your family. No one's saying you got to run off to an ashram and devote, get rid of all your worldly possessions or anything like that. But the most important thing to do with your life is to live it through the eyes of the angels. And one of the most profound things and the easiest task to do this is something that I've told the knights here for years. When you wake up in the morning and you put your clothes on, pretend like you're putting your archangel on. Say, Archangel Raphael, I'm putting you on today. And what happens is, now I'm looking out of his eyes. I'm not looking out of the human's eyes, because I'm seeing through him. So everything I come in contact with, I'm looking at through the angel's eyes. I didn't merge physically with him and make him come into my body, but I'm looking through the eyes of that loving being. And when I do that, I'm honoring my life. I'm still going to work. I'm still taking the kids to school. I'm still doing all of the mundane kind of human things you have to do. But I'm doing it through grace and love. And that's how you honor those angels that are working with you. You gain their respect by doing the deed and looking for opportunity to do the deed. Okay, does that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions over there, Mara, that are popping up?
Yep, there is a lady, July, asked about the difference between the new angel wing beacons, sacred fire pyramid, and just kind of like what the strength of those are in tribute penny points, how they count as part of the distribution is what she's asking.
Really totally differently evolved pieces. The devices have taken on a total transformation as far as that's concerned. The Peace Cup that Lady Jane got. Lady Jane, you're there. Want to answer that? What does it feel like compared to whatever? It's always good to have a testimonial.
Yeah, got it. It's incredible because I work with these and I've been around them, and every time something else comes into the arsenal, or however I want to speak of it, it just radiates out and ups the amp of everything else. And this Peace Cup, when I pick it up, it just has the kind of heaviness Johnny was talking about. It embodies energy that it just radiates out and people feel it. I've already used it on some patients. It's incredible. Each piece that's offered is like the one up from the other. And personally, I have plenty. I've been working with Lady Sophia for years with crystals. It's not about needing them. Yes, they're beautiful, they're exquisite, but because I trust, I am devoted to the work. I believe in the work. I see the effect it has on people. And each piece that's meant to come in just enhances what has already come before. That's all I can explain.
Thank you for that, Jane. One of the answers to that is the Cup of Peace wasn't an archangel beacon. It's the Sophia, the Seven Sisters. It's her whole. It's the Palladian sisters. So it's a different type of energy that was with that piece. It's one of a kind. And what I trusted as the process came through was that the person that needed to get each one of these pieces, that needed to work with that energy in their lives or with their practice or in their immediate surrounding, their community may need the energy, that person would get it. A little lighthearted story, one of the crystal mine that we work with had some issues, and so I sent Sir Edward a bunch of, just to get him, to keep him busy, I sent him a lot of my personal crystals. And I said, this is what I want done with this. The Ankhs were my personal, I use them in my practice. And I drew him a schematic of exactly what I wanted, because I know that once he opens the channel, they would just make him do whatever, right? So, and he actually held pretty clear to what I wanted with them. So when he sent them all back, and in the video, a lot of what you all were drawn to was my personal crystals. And I'm like, I'm keeping this. Like, and he says to me, I'm really surprised you weren't drawn to the Peace Cup and the other thing. And I said, I can't keep them all. I felt guilty, you know? So that's the only reason why that Peace Cup got on the market, because I was like, okay, I already kind of took away like 5 pieces that I needed. So to answer the question, July, every one of them is a different energy.
Yeah.
You know, it just, you can't, like the amulets, even the amulets that come through, even some of the amulets that are created with the same symbols are different. And they're used for a different purpose. And I have to trust that whoever gets them is supposed to use them in the right way. I mean, when he first sent me the very first shipment months ago, and I think that it got here right before a Reiki intensive that I had. I think, Sarah, it was right before you came to the Reiki intensive. And I think I remember telling you, it was like when they all arrived, I'm like, oh my gosh, these are my babies. Nobody's getting these. They're mine. You know, they're like, each one of them is something unique. So anyway, when something like it pops up, I think it's best that if you feel drawn to it, there's a reason you feel drawn to it, and that's the piece for you. That's one of the reasons why we decided to do the auction, because what was happening is Michaela or I were picking the amulets for you, the beacons for you. Like if Alexandria ordered something, I'd ping into Alexandria's energy and I'm like, this is hers, this one's hers. And now you can actually establish a relationship via video or picture and say, that one's mine. So did that answer your question, June? In a roundabout kind of way? Okay. Okay. Mara, was there anything else?
Nope, but you've hit 8 o'clock already.
Oh my goodness. I've been just talking. Okay. So I don't have a deadline. And since you're here, Mara, I think we're okay. So let's just go until questions are completely answered. Does anyone have a question? Does anybody who's new to the group completely have a question for us about anything? About how the class operates, about anything? Who's that person? I'm seeing something. Oh, it's Doc. That's his car. That's hysterical. Anybody? No? Nope. Okay. Does anybody want to talk about their experience with the class to the rest of the group? No? How many of you are sad we're not starting tomorrow? I am. We'll start soon. It's all good. I am thinking about changing class to Monday evenings so that we can do it at a time later in the evening that will accommodate people from work, because we were having issues for people getting on at 4:30 in the afternoon. So, but I'll make that decision by the end of the week. So I guess that's it. No other questions, Mara? Oh, wait a minute. I have one from Elaine here. I'm sure there are many things I don't know or understand on this remarkable journey. I've had questions reading through book 2 and rereading book 1. For now, the question leaning forward is what will happen if the deadline of April 1st, 2033 is not met? Will Michael return to the Father, and what will remain or occur on Earth? And better yet, what will we experience when the deadline is met? A return to Atlantean society, consciousness-wise, what would balance look like? Wow, that's a big question. Okay, so April 1st, 2033 is actually the date that Sir Edward was given as his death date. So that could be the time that Michael does return to the Father. This is, for those of you who haven't heard this before, this is Michael's his final go round. So every 500 years, he's come back, and technically, he said this in the book a few times, he was sent to fail. Sometimes we interpret that in one way, and sometimes we interpret that in another way. But technically, this time around, he was victorious because the stone of enlightenment and the sword of truth was fused together once again by Daniel Watson. You've read that story. Michael, on May the 27th, 2015, delivered the sword of truth, Excalibur, to Michaela Victoria. So he delivered it technically to humanity so that he was victorious. So if you look at what actually happened in the beginning when he threw both pieces into the abyss because he had righteous indignation with Lucifer, he was basically charged with coming back every 500 years and helping humanity raise their level of consciousness until he could get both pieces found and deliver them the way God told him to in the beginning. You guys remember that story? Where he said he needed to deliver the sword to humans and Lucifer was supposed to deliver the stone of enlightenment, and he got all up in Lucifer's face. The great battle ensued and both got thrown into the abyss. Well, Michael didn't do what God asked of him because Michael had a little bit of an ego. So this time around, he checks himself and it has been delivered. So that part is for sure. Now that it has been delivered, the probability of what was foretold has lessened, but it's not gone away because we do have to balance the consciousness. And if all of you saw my post a while ago about the North and the South poles, did you see that where the South Pole is moving? Okay, we had that discussion that day at the round table. You know, they're not making it public knowledge, but the poles are moving. And the last time the poles moved, which it has happened in Earth's history, the great wobble ensued and the poles flipped. And when that happens, it's catastrophe. It's atmospheric catastrophe. So the reason the Stargate was so important was because the Grail Queen in her energy is supposed to be able to man that Stargate and decrease the wobble so that we don't have end of days. So what Elaine is asking is so many different questions in one question. We are in the middle of it. We are in the end of days. But we are so much further along and it hasn't happened yet. So we still have a fighting chance. And what balance would look like would be similar to what happens when you're in, those of you who get to it, in the meditation of the Atlantean culture. Takes you right back to where Atlantis was in its most purest form. There's still going to be ups and downs because it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to be at 0 degrees. We're not supposed to be at 90 degrees. We're supposed to be at, 180. We're supposed to be at 90 degrees, where we kind of go back and forth like this. And how we do that is, if this side's negative and this side's positive, instead of swinging one side or the other all the time, we have to check ourselves. This is where keeping our egos are in balance. If we check ourselves and don't flare in ego or go manic in joy, and we just kind of flow back and forth with it, and if we are that microcosm that represents the macrocosm, our vibration of flowing back and forth between, say, 85 and 95 degrees will bring the rest of the consciousness in check, so that we're not out of balance. Right now, you guys don't, or well, I know you do it, but the society doesn't understand that we are in the negative realm, because we've been in the negativity has had the power play for many hundreds of years. Positivity has not been in charge for a very long time. So it's going to be very foreign. Those of you who go into meditation and get centered and grounded and feel that peace, that center of nirvana, that's what it's going to feel like. So I hope I answered her question for her. Anything else that came up, Lady Mara?
Yep.
No?
Yes, you had Lady July asked about the Fountain of Youth exercise tomorrow, whether you should use magnets or not, and whether everyone will have to start by tomorrow.
Best case, those of you who have the pyramids, you don't have to use the magnets. You can, if you have places on your body you want to use the magnets. The most important thing is to drink the elixir, the orange juice with the collagen while you're sitting under there for the 15 minutes. You can go a little bit longer if you want, 15 to 30 minutes. The reason this is taking place is because once March hits, I'm going to be conducting or giving a class on those of you who have the pyramids are going to go out and be the practitioners with the pyramids, and you're going to start giving sessions. Everything that we're doing is for you to become the practitioner and the light bearers. You're taking these devices, not just the crystals, but the pyramids as well, out into the public, whether it's through your practice, your family, to a nursing home, to wherever you can get people to be open to it. And you're going to start doing these sessions on people. And in order to get to that point where you're going to be vibrating completely in that same frequency that the light comes down, we need to do this as a group. And you're going to condition your bodies. Plus the fact, most of us are, all of us are getting older by the minute. Some of us a little bit older than the others. And this is helping. This is the fountain of youth. I've been doing the collagen for about 3 weeks now, and I feel my joints feel different. And that's with being in the pyramid and doing the lessons. When I record the lessons and record the meditations, I'm sitting in that pyramid. I'm using that as a totally different channeling opportunity. So I get to stay in there a little bit longer with everything, but I definitely have seen a difference. But yes, Lady July, you should do it tomorrow. Once again, this is a consciousness thing. It's not just a physical body thing. So all the people who said they're in and they're doing it, we should start tomorrow.
There was a question about Lady Sean was asking about collagen capsules. Are you going to give some kind of guidance on potentially what product or the quantity or quality of that? Or is that just people should get their own guidance on that? I think
you should get I personally get your own guidance. I went and researched it myself, and then I went to Lady Jane, who's a nutritionist, and I said, what do you think? Because here's what happened to me. I went online and I researched it, And there's bovine. There's a bovine collagen, which comes from the hide of animals. So if you're vegan, obviously that's out. Okay, but that particular collagen targets leaky gut, along with your ligaments and your tendons and your joints and your hair and your skin and your nails. Okay, but it has a stronger reaction or outcome for your joints and your gut. Okay, so that's primary. Whereas marine collagen is better for your hair and your skin. So a lot of the Hollywood people are in the marine collagen because of the fine line and the wrinkles, that kind of thing. So it all depends on, yeah, there you go, Joan, Pro Collagen. Now, those of you who have a Costco, they have hydrolyzed collagen, Verisol, I think it's called. Big jar of it. That's a good base as well. So again, I researched it. When I read them back to back, my mind wanted to go to the marine because of my hair and my skin, but everything inside of me said, go to the bovine. So I listened. I go back to that listening to the angels of what they're telling me. They told me, go bovine. But that's for me. That's my body, what my body needs. Not what my mind wanted, but what my body needed, I was told to go for. So that's what I suggest you do. And the reason why I said the powder is because the powder, it doesn't taste like anything. You can mix it in anything and you can't taste the difference. They do have some sublingual collagen as well. Those two deliveries of the collagen, the sublingual or the powder, are the best, as opposed to the capsules or the tablets, because they have to digest and be broken apart by your enzymes before you can get everything dispersed. So does that answer it? Who asked that? Was it July? Yeah. Sean, Sean, did you have a question, or was that your question? Anybody else? Did you have a question, Sean? Okay.
Johnny had a question.
Okay, Sean's,
I just wanted to quick note. I had bought some collagen capsules already, so I was like, I was just gonna dissolve them in the orange juice and drink it like that. So I was like, oh, maybe this will work. And then I thought, no, I better ask. So
you can. I don't know. Try it, or have you opened them already?
No, I haven't.
You might. Okay. Obviously it's tomorrow and everything. You might want to see if you can take them back and get the powder. But I'm sure there's a way to do it where it's that extra work, or you're going to crush it up. But I also highly encourage you, is after we get off the call, just go into a little meditation, maybe hold it and say, is this right for me? You'll get a clear yes or no, because they're going to talk to you right away about it. Okay. All right. Johnny, you had a question?
Yeah, it's not really a question. It's more of about the positive reasoning that you were speaking of a few moments ago. And yesterday I had an experience, well, lots of experiences, but I had a person who came in, business accounts, as a business that you cannot cash a business check. All right. Anyone should know this if you have a business. Yes, it has to be deposited into an account. It's a federal law. Well, anyways, I work in a bank, and the person who came through wanted to cash a $5 check. And she's a very successful dentist, and she just was not happy with it, let's just say the least. Some choice words and everything, and I just sent out as much positive energy as I could. I said, I just, put it on hold and everything, and people were like, are you thinking of something to say? And I said, no, I already know what to say. I don't need to say it, because thought's faster than any words or anything light, anything else. And I went back and I said, look, all we can do is deposit this check. And that's it. She said some more choice words. I asked her if you want me to send the check back. Did that. And she said, no, deposit it. So I deposited it. Well, the beauty behind that is that today she actually waited for me to get finished with the person that I was working with. And it took, 30, 40 minutes of, being a banker. You deal with all kinds of different things. 30, 40 minutes, she just waited for me and waited and waited. And I was just like, okay. And I finally saw who it was. And I was like, oh, gosh, I wonder what she's going to say to me. Well, she came up to me and she said, I have nothing but the utmost respect for you. I am so happy that you stood your ground, and I apologize for being a bitch. And that was her words. And I was just like, I was flabbergasted already. And she's doing this in front of my coworkers. And because that's never happens, ever. And they were just, it brought a tear to my eye. And my coworkers were like, wow, that's incredible. And, you know, and I helped her out, did whatever she needed to do. She didn't need to do anything. She just wanted to really say that to me. And that's why she waited so long. And to me, it was about when the day before, when my coworker was saying, are you thinking of something to say? And I said, no, I've already said it because it was going through my mind. Nothing but positive energy, positive energy, positive energy. And I just wanted to bring that to everyone because it was great seeing you guys. We've had a long break, and it's beautiful. So our thoughts are faster than light, and I just want to keep that going. So into the new year and into when the class starts, it's going to be awesome. So if that can happen to me in a bank, holy wow. So
that's your answer, Jasmina. How do I honor the 10 angels sent to me? That's how you honor that. That is exactly what I said earlier about putting the archangel on. You know, we're not doing these lessons just to give them lip service. We're not doing these lessons to say, oh, I'm, you know, an angel knight. And we're not doing these lessons just to see our beautiful faces once every 2 weeks. We are doing these lessons to put them into practice. We are doing these lessons so that when we get into that situation, we go, oh, wait a minute. Let me take a deep breath. Let me come from love. Because really what you did was, it wasn't just the positive reasoning. It was the love that you are and the love your words were laced with that allowed you to keep and engage your positive reasoning. So that's really what we have to be mindful of all the time. And that's how we honor the process. It's, you know, a lot of people say, when's the big kaboom coming? Or when's the second coming of Jesus? Or when's the wobble coming? Or when's the big thing going to happen? And what's it going to look like? That's what it's going to look like. You transformed, number one, yourself. Because think about it. You rewind a couple years ago. Would you have engaged that then?
Not even close.
Right. Wait. Okay. So, and then you engaged it. And instead of passing on a virus of discord, you passed on love and you passed on positive reasoning. And look what she did. It's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
so, and that's what it looks like, people.
Yeah, she came back and she said as soon as she left, she felt an instant energy in her that said, why did I do that? That's exactly what she said.
That's what, you know, when Sir Edward and I, when we would interview predators or criminals, when we went to St. Elizabeth's or we'd go to the prisons and do research, the pedophiles specifically would say, I don't know what came over me. I don't know what it was. Well, what it was there's that dark agenda, that the darker spirits, the spirits that are vibrating at a friendly, I mean, not a friendly, frenzied, red, sparky kind of rate, because they're agitated. And if you think about it, when you walk into a room of somebody who's just had a fight, you can feel that. So it jumps on you. And she didn't know why she said it. Who knows what tweaked her? It could have been something very small in the office that day, and it was eating at her and eating at her and eating at her. And she was holding that beach ball down all day long under the water. And then she got to you in a silly $5 check. Come on, you know, it just came up. So, and you diffused it. So this is awesome. Thank you for that. I saw a question Didn't I just see a question from?
Rosalina asked if she can join the classes without having received the new book. I think maybe that's what you saw.
I also saw Suzanne's, can we work on the lessons on our own if we're not in the informal class yet? I highly recommend it. Yes, definitely. Go for it. Start doing the lessons. Read them. Everyone here can tell you what happens when you come into the class space. You'll hear an audio of the lessons that I've read. You'll have an assignment to read them and to listen. Then you have either a video or an audio of a meditation that it's not in the book, and other exercises that are not in the book. Because if you all remember back to book 1 in the beginning of the lessons, when these lessons were channeled, it was mandated that with every class, every lesson that Sir Edward would share with a class, there must be a meditation or a guided visualization and some sort of practical application. And that's great when it was in person. It's easy, you're all here, you're interacting in person. But then when it jumped to this online version, we just had to figure out a way to incorporate that. And that's not in the book, obviously. The other thing is book 2, you'll notice, I don't think I put any diagrams at all in the book. And in book 1, not all the diagrams are there. So there are some things that we specifically, I was told to withhold for whatever reason, whether it's the whole Seth issue or whether it's just under not the understanding or whether it's not needed at this point, who knows? So some things you only get in this interface. And when and if the time comes, that the class space will be opened. I don't know how it's going to happen. For those of you who haven't been in the class space, what we're thinking of doing is having you guys be able to come into these live sessions, but you're working on your own at your own pace with the lessons. That's why this new website that I'm trying to get, it's going to be like what they call it, drip content. So if you wanted to download 12 lessons, you could download 12 and work on them at your own pace. But then you'd catch up to where we are. But you have to actually work on them. Just having them or downloading them and listen to them for one day isn't going to help you. You've got to actually work on the lessons. So, but yes, Suzanne, you can go ahead and start, absorbing things. Okay.
As to the question of working without the book, we've been putting codes in our book, so I don't know how you could without a book.
You definitely need the physical book because obviously I showed you the activation page. When my page fell out. For example, when everybody does lesson 1, there's a blank circle up here, okay? At the end of lesson 1, when we get to lesson 2, you get a symbol that says you've done the lesson. Now, you could continue to read and still absorb the lesson, but this energetic symbol in your book shifts something and amps up your level of energy. So if you don't have the book, that's not going to happen for you. So highly recommend you get the book. Definitely at least get 1. Those of you who haven't had it already, definitely get 1 because you're going to need that to go on to the lessons in general. Moira, are we supposed to wait for Lady Sophia's instruction before we seal? What are you talking about? The last lesson? Can you unmute?
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. So Lady July had just written that for those who completed up to lesson 29, go back and listen to December to get the seal. And I remember at the time hearing you give the seal to group 1. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying I didn't go back. Even though I knew about it, I didn't go back and seal it because I thought, are we going to wait officially for you to tell us when to seal it from group 2 versus just doing what you said on a different video?
Right. I would prefer you wait.
Yeah.
And do it the first night of our next class.
Okay. That's
okay.
What
so you'll do that first, and then we'll activate the books.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So just hang on to that. All right. Was that it?
Lady Joan just asked if you can use some oils when you do closing tonight.
Yeah, I could do that. What oil do you want? I'm here in Armor of God. What do you want? Armor of God? Okay.
Lady July, it's my remembrance. My book is already sealed after we finished lesson 29. So I don't think we don't have to do that when we start class.
Yeah, no, we sealed it that last live class, or should have been sealed that last live class. Okay. Anything else going on? Well, I have to say I certainly missed all of you. It was a temptation to try to stay away. I mean, I was almost a couple times I was going to have a class. I'm like, no, don't do it. Just let them be. It'll be fine. But I'm glad for it all to start up again. And I can't wait to see where we go down the road with these next few lessons, because I love them. I think that some of the ones coming up are pretty amazing. And I can't wait to actually see your books come alive. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask. How many of you or anybody, raise your hand, how did it feel to read all those lessons? Joan, do you want to say something? So that the rest of you know, with every class, you have to write an essay. And the essay has to be on what's happened in your life and or a reflection of the lesson. So what I made them do is print them out, all 29, at the end of this last lesson, so that really what you're doing is you're seeing journal entries of your life over all these months that they've been working. And then as they redid their lessons, they're reading them over again and seeing where they were a year ago as opposed to where they are now. So I'm sorry, Joan, go ahead. What do you?
I was totally shocked, because I always thought, I wrote from the heart, wrote what happened, and I didn't realize I was hitting the nail on the head, and I was getting it. And I was just like, oh my God, I used to be so smart. Oh, but I was really surprised how I was getting it. And it was all coming through. And I'm sorry, my cat has just been mauling me and I got hair all over.
So what do you think that was? What do you think that was? In those moments when you were writing the essay, what was happening?
For example, when we went to the planets or to the belt, and this guy came out, and I was so excited I sort of woke up and came to, but then I was getting messages and I thought it was Zerakyle. So I had written it up. Oh, and then the next day you posted a picture of Archangel Michael, and I was just sort of like, hey, that looks like the guy that I saw. So it was Archangel Michael, and he did send me that message. And so I did get it, not right at that time, but it did all come through in the 24-hour period. And it was just sort of like, okay, I thought I'd have to go back and redo it.
Okay, so to answer my question, listen, take a deep breath.
Okay.
Take a breath. Who wrote the essay?
Me.
What was actually?
And Zerakyle.
Okay, so what were you doing when you wrote that essay? Was a human just writing her words, or what was coming through? What was actually happening? What opened?
And
Into the sea.
we channeled.
There you go.
Yeah, we did it together.
So what the
was-
point is I'm trying to make is that even in the very beginning, as soon as you step forward and start to do the lessons and work the way you're working, and you do that essay, it is the human vessel typing it open to the channel that's hearing it.
Yes.
You understand? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I want. I'm glad you noticed that you were doing it from the very beginning. So when we connect to that part of us, that very precious, beautiful piece of us that surrenders and allows it all to come through, we are not newbies or peons or anything else. We are that M. We are that spark of God, and we are that co-creator. And I'm glad you recognize that in yourself from the beginning, because all it's happening now is that is evolving and getting stronger and gaining more understanding and expanding, but it was always there.
It's the same thing when we answer on the wisdom page. You are learning to listen to your archangel to get the answer. Like all of a sudden you'll have something go, oh, I know why, and you type that out. You're connecting to your archangel, and that's where we also practice, is on that page.
That happens on the page when we reread it 5 times before responding. When we do not react, okay? Because the reaction is a knee-jerk reaction. That is the tweak of the ego. The difference between a reaction and a response is a very well elicited, calm way of responding. A breath comes in, it clears us out. When you breathe, it also allows the energy to come in. And then we start to get over our ego when we have that breath. So a reaction versus a response is the difference between the human and the channel. So, all right. One last question from Jamesine. How can I have a personalized book too if the one I have sent back to you hasn't arrived yet in the US? I have yours sitting here, Jasmina. So tomorrow when Lady Jane is going to go to the post office for me tomorrow, when she goes, your book will go out. Is she still here? There you go. I just energetically, it needed to be an exchange, but it'll find its way. It's in La La Land with the post office, but it'll find its way here. So, anything, Mara? Are we good? Good? Okay, awesome. All right. So what I'd like everyone to do is, if you have an archangel bell or anything, go ahead and just, give it a shake. Anything you have with you, just get in touch with that energy and start to focus on your breath. And I'm going to send out, I already told you what it was, Armor of God, Saint Joan of Arc, her choosing. I'm going to send this out to you. And what you're going to do is you're going to breathe it in. When you breathe it in through your nose, you're actually going to be breathing it in through your heart chakra. And I want you to let it swirl. And then it's going to come up through the crown and go out around your body and back up into your feet, like forming a torus of energy. Some of you may actually smell this. A lot of times when we do this, most of you pick up a scent. So go ahead and just get into a nice calm space. Close your eyes, relax, and here it comes. Just breathe. In through the heart chakra, going out through the crown, down around your body, up into your feet, back here at the heart. Another breath, and out through the crown, back down around, up into the feet, back at the heart, and make this the longest, strongest, deepest breath you've taken all day long. In through the heart, out through the crown, back down around and into the feet. Dear Mother, Father, God, Creator of all things, it is with the deepest gratitude we come to you, thanking you for coming into this session and sharing your wisdom and your light, your unconditional love with each and every one of us, allowing us to know with every cell in our being that we are your children and we are co-creators with you in this beautiful, wonderful experiment. I thank all the Ascended Masters who came and assisted each and every one of us in this session. I release you now and all egos and personalities. I thank all the archangels for attending, specifically the angels of the four direction, for holding this sacred gathering in protection and love. I send each and every one of us out with love from the all, peace in our hearts and our minds, knowing we are the light, we are the way of the future, and we are here for the children of tomorrow, the children of today, for ourselves, the world, and the universe. And so it is, and so we are, and so it shall be. Amen. All right, so slowly start to come back into your space and time and open your eyes when you're ready at a time that's perfectly right for you. It was a pleasure meeting all of you. It was a pleasure seeing all of you again. I know that this isn't the first time we've met. This is just a reforming of old souls and old friendships that have been around for the beginning of time. I hope you all enjoy the rest of the week. God bless, and we'll be in touch for when the next step happens for the classes. Ciao.